Hey guys, welcome to my channel Knowledge Hub. So today I'm here with my first video on one of the interview experiences at Deloitte. So the role which I was shortlisted for was automation consultant with an experience of 3 years. So basically today I'm going to cover manual and functional interview questions which was asked during my interview, automation interview questions and scenario based questions. So let's dive into this dive into this interview experience today. So this was the mail which I received, that they have scheduled an interview for consulting position with respect to automation in Selenium. So whenever you get a interview call from any of the firm or organization, the basic research you have to do is with respect to uh, from what kind of recruiter you are getting the email, and then you have to check who is going to conduct your interview. If these all details are displayed over the email, then you can try checking out the person profile from any of the social media accounts, like not any of the social media accounts, but it is kind of professional accounts, uh, talking about LinkedIn, and just try to go through a research like what does he do, what is his role, and what kind of skills he's familiar with, so that you'll get an idea what kind of level of preparation you need for the interview. So if you see right here, like I got an email, and sometimes you might not get the details of an the person who is going to conduct your interview, or who might be a panelist. So you have to go through your skill set, and then you have to prepare based on the timeline which you get. So let's dive into the first section. So they started with the functional interview questions at the beginning stage. There was one Zoom meeting link provided to me, and I was uh, moved into a breakout room, and then a panelist joined. There was a single person who was asking me the questions, not sure about the background, like who were apart from that person. So the person who was asking me the questions is like he asked started with basic introduction, and he told me like to introduce what are your roles and responsibilities in your current organization. So you have to be brief about your introduction, like what you're working on and what are your skills, and what kind of projects you have worked on, and is your roles what is your role and responsibility as a team member or a team lead, whatever you are working as. So then, diving into the other question he asked, he started with the functional part. So he asked me what is the difference between a user story and epic. So this kind of functional interview question which might be expected, so you should be thorough with this kind of terminology. Then he told me like, what do you mean by agile ceremonies? And he told me like what kind of agile meetings you have been part of. So you can tell, for example, you can tell about sprint retrospective, you can tell about daily stand-up calls, and also you can tell about kind of sprint planning calls which happens throughout the sprint. So certain agile ceremonies you can describe, and which I have also described in my interview. Then talking about another question which was asked is like mostly asked in the interviews during many interviews, like it is regarding bug life cycle. So you should be thorough with like how the bug plays an important role when you raise a bug, from which state to which state it is moved on, like from the new state to the closing stage, what are the stages it goes through, whether it is withdrawn, whether it is assigned, whether it is retested again, it is gone back to the developer, or it is closed with a resolution. Next, talking about another interview question was like it was kind of good question which was asked like, can you tell me the difference between high priority and low severity issue with an example? So I basically have given an example of e-commerce application. You can give any of your project example. So I was like not sure on this, but so you can give a like better examples with high priority and low severity issues. So also like another question which was asked for me was like, what are the different types of testing, like what is the functional, what is the regression, and what is the smoke, and what is system testing, with the help of examples. So next part, like this was about all about manual part, and this part was like kind of tricky as well, I could say, because when you get some examples and when he tries to counter back with the examples you provide, you need to be strong on your points. Next, talking about the other part, which was like on automation interview questions, he started with the first question, like how to pass a text as an input in Selenium, using Selenium. So I gave an example basically using send keys, which was like generic example which everyone tries to give, but he told me that can you give me something apart from send keys. So I was like in dilemma, like what to provide, because I was also not sure on this. And then he tried to give me a hint that we can use a JavaScript executor class. So this is like one of the most important question, like I would say, when you are going not going through generic interview question and you are going way beyond. So next question was asked like, if in a web page there are 1,000 links having a word common, such as taking upon your name, or any word common such as Google, so how would you extract the XPath of that? So I basically used a dynamic XPath concept, like using contains. So definitely, like you are going to open a code editor and you have to show him the syntax what you're going to write. And next he told me to extract a particular value from a response object. So whenever you receive an response from a request which you do a post or get call, whatever it is, you need to extract a particular value or a field, let's say, to validate. And you should also define kind of assertive statement whether it is true or false. So next question was like, write different types of test ng annotations with their usage. So there are test ng annotations like before suit, after suit, before class, after class, test class, and this all kind of certain annotations are there, and their usage also you need to provide. So you have to be familiar with those as well. Next, talking about another question which was I was asked is like, how do you connect the test cases, like how do you connect the test cases using testng, and how to set the priority of the test cases. So this is also one of the question like which can be asked. So like this is a basic question, I would say, like how do you connect the test cases? We can use like depends on method. And how do you set the priorities? Like we always have a parameter in testng like as a priority. So this way like you can answer this question. Another question is like, how do you execute a group of classes using testng? This is also one of the good interview question which I would say, like there is a XML file where you define the group in that XML class, like you specify a group of classes under a group of XML tag, and then you will like execute that particular group of classes. Next, how, yeah, tell me about JavaScript executor method. You can, yeah, so JavaScript executor method is an alternative way to handle the web pages using DOM elements. You all might have used that in your scripting part in automation as well. So this is like overall automation interview questions which was asked in Deloitte. Next, diving on another part, he told me that let's go with on scenario based questions, which is like going through the perspective of our thinking, and like how do you handle scenarios where you encounter bugs and all. So these two major questions were asked. I would like say just a minute, like, so these are the questions like, if there is a bug in UAT, let's say we have a UAT and SIT in production environment. If there is a bug in UAT, then how would you, and like how, if dev is not able to replicate or reproduce that issue, then how would you proceed with the bug actually? So will you close the bug, or will you withdraw the bug, or what is your action, like how would you proceed going forward with this scenario? Next question was asked like, if certain XPath got changed in SIT environment but it is not changed in UAT, like it is same in the UAT environment and in production, like how would you handle your automation script when your automation script is running through three environment? So you should be able to handle such issue, I mean such scenarios. Like these are another scenario based questions which I would say. Then final ask, like which was, they asked me regarding SQL questions. He asked me like basically two SQL questions. Like SQL questions like are most important questions which might be asked, which might be expected in interview. We should be thorough with this as well. So they asked me two questions like how to print the values in a table which is having an ID as 1 2 3 4. You can use like aggregate functions in SQL, like you have in operator and all, so you can use that one. Also like he told me like to describe, I mean how to print the matching values in both tables, and if the value doesn't match in right but still should print the left table values. So I hope like you can print this using joins. You can use left outer join or some kind of concept, and you should be able to write that particular query in notepad. So this was the complete regarding complete scenario regarding interview which was happened in Deloitte. And this is like overall my experience which I've encountered. Thought of sharing it so it might be useful for the person who are going to attempt an interview further going forward. Yeah, that's all. Thanks a lot.